Hello, writers. This is Lee Jessup, career coach for emerging and professional screenwriters. We've had a really tough start to the year here in Los Angeles with the fires, but don't worry. I know I've already talked about that. Sadly, I stopped everything today to record this video for a different reason, which is that we learned today that we lost brilliant luminary writer, director, producer David Lynch. And so I had to stop the day for a minute to share with you my Lynchian experience, or my experience of the Lynchian body of work, because it was a seminal one and an important one, I think, for a lot of us who came up in the 80s, the 90s, the early aughts, especially the 80s and 90s. His voice was so unique and specific and different and unapologetic and fearless. I first became familiar with David Lynch's work with his adaptation of DUNE, which I saw as a little kid in Israel. And I loved it so much that I dragged my friends to see it at the time 4 times in Jerusalem in those days, which was a whole harrowing thing because there was also intermission. So it really became a very long movie. But I just loved it and wanted to see it again and again and absorb as much of it as I could. He really introduced me to those books. And from there, I went on to devour the Frank Herbert content and really kind of immerse myself in that world. Then came Blue Velvet, which was mind-blowing at that time. The amazing performances that he was able to get from Dennis Hopper, from Isabella Rossellini, not to mention all the other actors in the material. Obviously, Kyle MacLachlan, who then went with him to do Wild at Heart, for which he was awarded the Palme d'Or at Cannes. And lest we forget, he also in '89 had Twin Peaks, which as kind of a kid coming up was the first piece of true contemporary material that wasn't, something from 10 years ago. Something that as it was happening really just freaked me out significantly. And we all in that time found ourselves asking who killed Laura Palmer. And in many ways, I find that to be the blueprint to serialized storytelling that we're all so obsessed with today. Of course, David Lynch would continue to write, direct, produce movies like Mulholland Drive, other projects, never stopped, and recently said that he would not stop directing until he's gone, which sadly now he is. Now, as a film professional, I've had the great privilege and honor of being invited to teach for his grad program, the David Lynch grad program for cinematic studies, that I'm very honored to teach for, if only to be able to contribute in some small, tiny way to the legacy of this amazing, incredibly talented man who shaped my understanding of film, of character, of how far you can go, of breaking boundaries, of illuminating characters we've never seen before, of falling for characters that previously were ones that we would never consider falling for and getting invested in, for all of his brilliance and his weirdness and all of the great things. I'm just so incredibly grateful to have been able to witness all of it and to have been invited to teach for his graduate school. There are a million tidbits that you hear about David Lynch as time goes by. My favorite being, or at least one of them being, that in recent years he said that his favorite movie was, oh my God, did I forget? No, Legally Blonde 2. That I thought was just, of course, what else would you expect from David Lynch? For those of you who don't know his work, I highly encourage you to go back to watch those titles, starting with Eraserhead. That was Eraserhead, right? That was his first project, and on to his other works that were just so brilliant. But he will be sadly missed. He's contributed so much to our landscape, to the tapestry of film and TV and what we are making today. He will be sadly missed and never forgotten. So goodbye, David Lynch. We thank you for all of it.